gorgeous people. Hi, everyone. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. Let me just make sure we're on speaker view here. Okay, let's get started. We are recording as always. You guys, people will kind of straggle in. If you have any questions, remember, type in big caps next to the question. Otherwise, I will assume you're chatting about your pets and margaritas and the weather. So we have Austenne Gray here today, and I actually kind of stalked Austenne. We already had a call with Austenne, which a lot of you might have already watched, because she has history with voice. She trains people. She is an opera singer, was a professional opera singer. She's a professional narrator. She's done it all, ballet, every discipline you could think of. But after that call, I kept seeing posts from Austenne that really, really kind of made me think. And I'd get all excited and I'd send her a message going, okay, I want you back on the Joe call. And so then a few days ago, Austenne got kind of a hold of me and she was like, what is it that we're actually discussing on this call? The thing I want to talk to Austenne about is that along with Andy Garcia-Roos, Austenne is extremely transparent and authentic, but in a very professional way. But she works with Enneagrams. She's aware of her personality. She's got a great mindset when it comes to working with who she is and knowing her limits and knowing her strengths. But she's not afraid to put it out there. But she does it in a way that doesn't look weak or miserable or wallowing, or she does it in a way that makes everyone go, wow. It's like even Austen's bad days are good copy. And I think that's what they mean when they say be authentic. And I think we could all use a little bit of that. And I want to delve a little bit more into the Enneagrams and energy and working with who you are and how do you know who you are. And am I right, Austenne, that energy is a big part of your life? Like, when did you first become aware of energy? The disciplines that you were in were very disciplined when you grew up. Didn't they screw you up for a while?
Yeah. So definitely. Yeah, they were great in some ways and then not so great in other ways. And I think the attention to detail and the discipline and just having a sense of your spatial awareness is really beneficial to any sort of theater actor or theater work that you do. But the downside of that is there's a lot of body dysmorphia, there's a lot of energy costs, and there's not a lot of being yourself. And so the transition from ballet to opera was actually pretty congruent, or pretty seamless, I should say, going from high art to high art. Both are very disciplined things, and there's not a lot of room for interpretation. There is and there isn't when you get to a certain level. So I don't want to say that and be so general about it, but there isn't as much room for play as there is in narration. And so that transition from opera to narration was just like a Mack truck hit me in the face. So I had to redo sort of my understanding of what performance is and how my voice is going to function in this capacity and what people are hearing, and how to take all of that body movement, that bigness, and really whittle it down to the essence of what it is, and then try to communicate that with my voice. And so it was just this big transition.
So there's so many layers to that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to attack all the layers. I love this. Okay. There's so many layers to that. My first question is, in ballet and opera, did you have the freedom, and is it a part of those disciplines to listen to your body and your energy needs and your energy levels and play with that? Or because they're so disciplined, is it a matter of ignoring your body and pushing through?
Yes and no. So yes, in this, so how do I tackle this? So when thinking about ignoring your body and pushing through, that's the truth most days. At least that's what it was for me. So you have to get out there, you have to do the training, you have to do the performance, and it doesn't matter if you have a cold or even the flu, you're going to get out there and you're going to dance. And that's the end of it. It's like, that's what you're being paid to do. You go dance. When it comes to injuries, that's still true. You can dance on a broken toe, and you can take a lot of steroid shots for, a hurt knee, which are not healthy, but there's a lot of physical ramifications with that. For me, it was just
Theater's
a
the
lot of
same, isn't
pushing.
it?
Theater's the
Theater's the
same.
same.
Yeah,
You're
theater's exactly
dying.
the same.
You're dying. The
You're
last
dying.
play I was in, I
Yeah.
performed with a fractured shoulder and a full cast. And one of the guys, the leads, was taken off in an ambulance. But he
Yep.
still worked through to the last act.
The show must go on, and that is the truth. That is exactly right. I had a friend, I was in the show Parade, and a buddy of mine had the full on flu, just was throwing up backstage, came on, did her songs, went back, threw up, just prayed to Jesus or whatever that she would just get through the show. And so there's a lot of denial of your physicalness, but also with theater, you have to listen to your body in the moment. And so it's like for me, it's like you turn it off, you turn it on, you turn it off, you turn it on. It was this switcheroo. And then with narration, I just slowly started to understand that if I was going to give an authentic performance, I really needed to get to the heart of why I feel what I feel, what is my body doing, because you can hear it. So the mic picks up all of these nuances. You can't hide behind people. You can't just shuffle on stage and sing your song or go through the motions and then, or like pour your heart out on stage and then leave and collapse. It's like the mic just picks up every single little thing.
How long did that take you to learn?
I think I'm still learning it. So I've listened back to some audio that I did yesterday, and it sounds completely different than what I did a month ago. And so I think the work that I've been doing is paying off big time. But it's a struggle to be authentic and also set boundaries and know what is socially appropriate, but also let people into what you're thinking and feeling. And
But
that's
you push
really hard to
boundaries.
do.
You push
Yeah,
boundaries. I've
I
seen you post
do.
pictures on Instagram and on Facebook, and you also always seem to be assessing,
Yeah.
where am I today? And I love that because it's a ride, because it's what you said about where you are right now with I thought I'm an achiever. So I was like, right, okay. I even literally put it on my spreadsheet. I'm going to get here on this day. And like, you're never there. So you're just like, as long as you listen back. But I know that you said you were shy or you were introverted, or I can't really remember. So it's not easy for you to dump. I'm not going to lie, guys. I can dump my emotions out on Facebook in a split second and literally forget about it. But Austenne, I know you said you were an introvert. Were you an introvert? Was that?
Yes, I am a pretty extreme introvert. And what that means is that people just drain me. They drain my energy as opposed to an extrovert who is gaining energy from being around people.
Right.
And so unfortunately, we are in a very people-oriented business, and I like that. And so I just had to flip it and turn it into something that would work for me, because I'm never going to not be drained by other people. But I did take a step back and say, who do I want to be surrounded with? I want those people around me. What are those characteristics? How can I become that? And how do I, not so much law of attraction, but just how do I also give that to other people? And in the same token, surround myself with people who are encouraging and uplifting. And I don't need other people's criticism. I'm going to be way more critical of myself than any of you guys will be ever. So,
Yeah.
and then it was like, okay, that's true, but why am I not kind to myself? Why am I unkind and rude and disparaging to myself? That's ridiculous. So I'm in the middle of working towards being surrounded by all these people who I want around me. I didn't want to be around myself. And so that was work. That was just work to take care of. And even now I struggle with that. I struggle with, I didn't get that audition. Ugh, I suck. This is going to be, they hated it. I knew I shouldn't have done this thing. I should have done this thing. And I just did not. I found that the solution to silencing that type of voice is becoming a better artist and become confident in what I do with my art. And so now it's a matter of, this is who I am. It's growing, it's developing, it's happening. You either want to be in on it or you don't. And if you don't, that is totally fine. I'm going to go seek out the people who want to be in on it. That's what I'm going to do. And from there, the gigs flow in, the money flows in, goal setting happens, all this kind of stuff. But for me, it was just about work on the craft, yes, but just be a better artist in life, manage things better in life. All this, it's like a trickle down effect that happens. And I love that. I love just saying, and like Facebook posts and Instagram, I love Instagram because I love a good image. It just sticks in my brain. And sometimes I post very authentic things, like this is what I'm thinking. But sometimes I just post, I needed to look at pretty flowers. And that's what I was doing in that moment. I went to like pexels.com or whatever and typed in pretty flowers. And I just wanted to see something that was beautiful to me in that moment. I don't always look at pretty flowers, but sometimes something beautiful is a shot, like a journalistic shot of kindness, or a mountainscape. I don't always like mountain, I don't always like those things, but
Or
that's what I was doing in
rhinestones,
the moment.
leopard print, or velvet.
Right.
They always
Yeah,
work.
exactly.
You Google any one of those and you're cheered right up.
There you go. There you go. But I think that's what lends itself to the online authenticity. It's just, what am I doing right now? And so I'm a 5 on the Enneagram, and I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah,
But a
because I
5,
remember mine was the least popular one. Like I think I was like
you
a
were the 3.
3, and
Yeah.
I listened to a couple of podcasts and they were like, why does everyone hate 3s? Yay!
Yay.
So what is
We
the 5 again?
We don't hate 3s, by the way. We don't hate 3s. 5s are, without getting into the nitty gritty of it, 5s are basically in their head all the time. So meaning we're part of the thinking triad. So 5, 6, and 7s. So for those of you who don't know, the Enneagram is just kind of like a typing system, but it is also sort of a lifelong journey type of, like a Myers-Briggs, where you take a test and you fit in the thing. It's sort of why you do what you do, and gets to the heart of how you are wired. So you can understand yourself a little bit better, and also understand how to handle other people a little bit better. So 5s are always in their head, which means when a new piece of information comes, we think about it first. 3s are doers. Is that right?
Yeah,
I don't know much about 3s.
We think
They
about
have
it
gut.
after.
They have that gut. You don't exactly.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that though. But 4s are a part of the feelings triad, the heart triad. So they will feel things first, and then they will, I think about it. Can't remember if they go heart, head, gut, or whatever. Anyway, so 5s, as it pertains to me, means that I'm always out of my body. I'm not always very aware of what I'm doing. So for me I think about a lot of things. Like I think about making plans and I make the plans, but it's honestly more fun for me to make the plans than it is to execute the plans.
Execute them. Do you
So
ground yourself? Do you have grounding
I do.
rituals that you do?
I do. Yep. I do yoga every night at about 10 o'clock at night. So I do a yoga at the end of the day, and that helps to clear my mind of all of the junk. And then in the morning, I will journal. I'll just free write whatever is in my head, and I will try my best not to judge it. But I will journal probably about 3 pages, 2 to 3 pages, and then that's
Your
it.
morning
So
pages. Did you ever
the
do the
morning pages.
artist's way?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of that
Yeah.
with
Wow,
Anne.
you got farther than
Yeah.
I did.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So those types of things. And then just being aware that as a 5, I'm never gonna wake up in the morning full of energy. I'm never gonna wake up like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Like, it's okay. And I think that's the first time that anyone said to me, it's okay that you don't do that. I think when I was growing up or in my formative years, it was you gotta wake up early. Early bird gets the worm. You gotta be up and at 'em at like 5. And I was just like, no, like this is not going to work. And so then you kind of adopt these feelings and thoughts of failure. Like I
Yeah.
always kind of thought I was lazy or a failure for not doing that, for being such a night owl. And it's just an energy thing. So for me, I measure it in spoons. I think we mentioned last time, I think somebody posted an article about
I love the
just measuring your
spoons thing.
energy
I
with
love it.
spoons.
We have a
Yeah.
weird Wi-Fi delay, guys, so I do apologize. I think there's some Wi-Fi problem.
Oh
Um,
no.
so if I stop you, if I put my hand up, that'll be my way of telling you that it got garbled and we didn't hear the last thing you said. So,
Okay. Okay.
so tell us about the spoons.
So the spoons are just a tangible way to measure energy. So I start out every day with 5 spoons and I look at my day. And like today, I knew I had this interview. It's going to be a whole spoon and a half for me. So I know to rearrange my schedule and not do anything super dramatic. So for some reason, I've been cast in a lot of teen dramas and they're intense. And so I know not to schedule a death scene or a super dramatic scene after this call, because I'm just not going to have the energy to do it. It's gonna not be good. Nor will I schedule a comedy after this one. So after this, I have a dark fantasy. It's great. My voice will be like, and she walked in through the door. Like, it'll be great. It's fine. And so because of the Enneagram and all this grounding work, I can be much more aware of what my body is doing, what it's telling me, what it needs. This affects food, this affects scheduling, this affects childcare, and school schedules for children. This affects spouse dates or partner dates. Because if I do have a big scene I've got to do and it's on a Friday, and Fridays are usually date nights, I'll just tell my husband, we're not doing this tonight. Like date night will consist of rum and coke and crying and going to bed early. So, and he just knows. He just knows I don't have the energy. And he will also ask me, so my husband is a 7, also a thinking type, but he is an extrovert and they are an aggressive type. So whatever they're doing, they're like 150% in. Like I'm like 85 on a good day. I'm like, what is this? Where are we going? Who's gonna go? What do I have to wear? Like I ask all these questions. He's like, yeah, let's go. We're in it. We're going. Let's do this. Rah, rah. Like he's the best cheerleader ever, right? He's in your corner. He's doing the thing. He's out there. And we were discussing this the other day, and he was like, why do you get guarded, or why do you shut down when I'm trying to talk to you after work? And I was like, well, I've been with a 5-year-old all day and I've been working, and depending on what scenes I have, that's how much energy I have left to give you. And I said, but if you say, babe, I want to tell you something. Do you have the energy for this right now? One, that shows respect for me and who I am. And two, I then have the power to decide what happens next instead of being bombarded by his energy. He's got a lot of energy. So we like,
But
so yeah, so that's
I
helpful.
love, can I ask, so when you look back to your childhood,
Uh-huh.
do you feel that your personality, because I see a lot of correlation, I hope you don't mind me saying it, in astrology, because it's just that's what I studied and I knew, and I've always, for instance, I'm sorry guys if this seems like it's getting a little airy fairy, but then the same people that are uncomfortable with astrology love Myers-Briggs and find themselves in it, because I think we're all always searching for an explanation of where we fit and how we fit.
Yeah.
And I remember, you can't put me together with a Pisces in a relationship. I mean, they're lovely, wonderful, caring people, and I will eviscerate them every single time. And I won't mean to, and I'll feel horrible that I've become a horrible human being, but we just don't, the outlook, and I think that whether it's Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, the horoscope, I love them all, but whatever it is, I think more understanding about you and your reactions to things, it helps you navigate, your relationship with your husband. Whereas before all these things came out, it could have been a disaster. Before all these, understanding your types, you would have been like, you stupid jerk, I've been alone with the kid all day long. Yeah,
I honestly would not have the energy for that. I would have the energy for that. I would have been, usually if I'm overwhelmed or just tired or just done, that is my favorite phrase. I'm done with this day. I'm done with this day. It could be 4 o'clock, it could be 2 o'clock, it could be 10 o'clock. I'm done with this day. I'm done. And that usually means I need to be fed and I need to watch TV, or I need to do some yoga and just recenter, and then I can re-engage. So I think it's all about engaging and the power of choice for me. I really hated, one, not knowing, which is exactly like fiveness at its peak, just not knowing what was going on or why I felt so drained.
And also, so you chose a freelance career.
And so great. Yeah. Yeah. Believe me, I tried not to. I tried not to.
So how late do you stay up at night?
So my working hours are from 4 p.m. to midnight, and I am allowed to quit anywhere before that if I deem that necessary. Because if I push myself too hard, I will not have enough energy for the next day.
But then
So
what time do you go to bed? How much time do you give yourself to decompress after? If I went to bed right out, the kind of books I do, I'd have serious nightmares.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you would. Oh my gosh. Luckily, nobody wants a person who sounds like a 17-year-old to read a lot of horror. So
you go to bed right
maybe that's
after?
a market. I have not been there. Yeah, I don't know. So I go to bed. Yeah. So once I'm done with a session or whatever it is I'm doing, I will take 30 minutes and do whatever it is I want to do. Whatever. It could be reading a magazine. It could be maybe not vacuuming at midnight, but putting clothes away, like whatever. And you just take a moment. I just breathe for a minute and I'm like, okay, what do I actually want to do? And that is often very different from what I am supposed to do. So last night, I'm lying in bed, I'm really tired, I just can't sleep. And every study says you should get up and walk around, don't turn on any bright lights, read a book, and then when you're tired, you go back to bed. That does not work for me. I don't know if it's just because I read all day, every day, or, like reading has now a new connotation in my brain. But for me, it's getting up, I turn on my diffuser or like some sort of low light, and then I do yoga, which they say you're not supposed to, like move around a lot. But for some reason, just stretching and letting go, and that the meditation of the moment and just getting back breathing calms everything down for me, and then I can go to bed.
So I'm
Yeah.
totally interrupting you because I'm so
No, it's
excited by
fine.
what you're saying. Because
Okay.
what you keep saying, I had a big lesson in this. I keep getting this lesson. I keep not getting it. I'm obsessed with this web podcast called Huberman's Lab or Huberman.
Okay.
And he's a professor and he's a he specializes in the chemicals and the mechanisms and the way your brain works and neurohacking and everything. And one of his big things, which I've heard so many places and so many times, and it was a disaster and it is every single time, was the circadian rhythm. And he's saying
Mhm.
that your brain, first of all, it's forward. His big thing is forward movement and getting up and walking. I've started making myself walk around the flat first thing in the
Mhm.
morning before I do anything without sunglasses on. So the sun gets in your eyes. But then I listened to him more and he's saying, but that has to be before 10 in the morning and preferably around 7:30, 7 in the morning. And then even the other day, because I'm thinking, should I get another bird? And they're like, birds have to be up at circadian rhythm, 7:30 in the morning. And they have to get it. I'm like, I was a horrible pet owner. Oh my God. Because I
Oh,
tried waking up that early and I
you had
went to bed
mom
at
guilt.
11.
Yeah.
It's just not. I didn't sleep all
Yeah.
night long. I was a zombie and I crashed for 3 days.
Yeah.
I think, and when the newbies, and not even the newbies, me, I read on Facebook somebody talking about their hours that they record, how many finished hours
Yeah.
they do a day, how many books they've done. This year I've done such and such books. Every
Yeah.
time I read that, I think I'm being shamed. Whether I do
Mm.
more or
Yeah.
less than they are, I feel like I'm not doing the norm. And who's to say what's right and what's wrong? If the circadian rhythm was so good, why does it feel so bad? And also, what the hell are these people doing from 7:30 to 10:30 in the morning? That's so
Yeah.
much greater than what you can do like at night dressed up all glamorous with.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Or like me, where it's like you've got spit up in your hair and you've been to the pool and you're totally dehydrated and you're just like trying to get through this last sentence.
But
But
nighttime is when
yeah,
you
it's
get to be yourself, isn't it?
a little bit. Yeah. Yes and no. I think the vision of me, or who I'm supposed to be, quote unquote, is slowly fading away because I just don't have time and I don't have the energy to be like,
Yeah.
hi, how are you? I just don't. But there are ways that I can cut a conversation short and still be kind. Like, I don't want to be nice anymore. That's just too fake and people can see right through it. I want to be kind because that's what
Mm.
people really need. People need kindness and generosity. And I'm not going to ever do anything huge. I'm not going to donate millions of dollars or build a wing at a hospital. It's going to be in little ways. It's going to be I'm really good at observing people. So it's going to be something somebody says or something somebody does. And what is my response to that? What is my gut telling me? What is my body telling me to do? And sometimes it will just be, I'm going to be late for this thing because this person standing in front of me seems to need my time. Not in a taking kind of way, but if you're with somebody who, it sounds like they're hurting, or it sounds like they just need to talk to somebody, it's okay if I'm late for the dentist, or
Yeah.
it's okay for me to say, I love what you're saying. Call me later. We've got to go see the dentist or whatever. I think people just want genuine interactions, and it doesn't matter how much I give, but that I give, because I
It's
don't
the
think a whole
butterfly
lot of people.
effect. The butterfly
Yeah, and
effect, the ripples.
yeah, yeah, and I at least the people in my grander circle in the community, like my neighborhood community, are just very nice. There's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses, and there's a lot, which I think is a natural thing for all of us.
Mm.
But I don't want to fit in because it just requires too much sacrifice on my part. I want to belong somewhere. And if my interaction with somebody leads to a negative experience, then I don't belong in that person's atmosphere. And that's okay. Like, I don't have to do that. And so just that freedom means the world, gives me back my energy. It helps me conserve without feeling like such a miser, you know?
Yeah, because
And
you're taking from an endless well. You're not because you're selling your soul when
a
you're
little
when you're tr
bit,
when you're trying to fit in. You're selling your soul
yeah, yeah.
basically, because you have to stop being you so that they can
Hmm.
like who they think they want to like. When you're just
Yeah,
you, it's an endless well because there's so much you. There's enough you to go around. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And hopefully other people will be attracted to that. The people that want to also,
Maybe yes, and maybe no.
yeah,
And that's okay. If
yeah,
somebody doesn't like the way, you know, same with work and auditioning. If they don't like the way I read it, that's okay. That is an authentic version of what I would actually do with the script. I'm not trying to fit into your genre. I'm not trying to fit into what you think this should sound like. I want to come in and add another layer of artistry to it. And maybe, you know, and I just want to make the text really shine and communicate what the author really wants to communicate. But I'm not going to do that according to somebody else's rules. So somebody, I guess, an example of that would be a coach listened to some of my samples and then just emailed me. So we didn't have a session, we didn't, you know, any of that. And emailed me and said, "You're too sing-songy. You're too up and down."
wait, this really
And I was,
happened?
yeah, this really happened. So I won't name who it is, you know, like, you know, whatever. I'm not into that gossip stuff, but this
Wait,
really kind of hit home to
had you
me.
hired them or asked them to, or did they
I had
just give it?
asked, I had asked them for a session, and they said no, like, I don't have time in my schedule. And I was like, that's cool. She's like, and then this person was like, I'll listen to some of your samples, and just by listening to your samples, here's what I hear. So
Okay.
I understand she didn't have to do that. That was her time out of her day. So I thanked her for her time. But also, you know, what she said kind of opened this Pandora's box of I mean, that was really the impetus of, do I really want to not sound sing-songy? Because I am sing-songy in real life. I've hit about 4 octaves since we started this
You're
conversation.
an
So like
opera singer and a
that's
ballerina.
just, yeah, it's just gonna come out, especially if you have like fairies.
Yeah.
Those fairies are gonna be like octaves high. And then you have, you know, the trolls that live down the street or whatever. Like those are gonna be really, so it's just, I want to think that they meant to say I wasn't as connected as I could be to the text, but that's not what was said, right?
Yeah.
So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt
I'm
here.
like
But it,
99% sure that's probably what they were trying to get to.
right, but that's not what they said at all.
Yeah.
And so, but
Yeah.
it did ironically kind of spark a little bit of, okay, well, how do I be more connected? And it was just me exploring a little bit of, okay, well, I'm doing this dark fantasy. Do I have to sound like I ate sandpaper for breakfast? No, I don't. I'm probably going to sound, you know, like a dysfunctional 17-year-old. I
And
don't know.
also, you got
So,
hired for the job because of the way you sound.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, you got to keep going back to that. But, you
yeah.
know, and even in the world of auditioning and rejection, like 80% of what I put out there is rejected, right? Of all of us, because they're looking for the right voice too. Like people in casting want the right vibe and the right voice and the right tone and all this kind of stuff. They've got a difficult job too.
But also, the end,
But
what a coach tells us to do, or what anyone tells us to do, isn't the end of the story, because that's not the end of it's our job to run it
yeah.
through our own filter and decide what meaning we're going to take from that. Like with anything, like that's
Mhm.
confidence. That's the point you want to be at, and you're directing your career.
Yes, you want the power with you. You
Yeah.
don't need to give away your power,
Right.
which is
Right.
what is happening so often when we just listen to too many people, or when those people's opinions hold too much power. So I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking out someone else's opinion, but they're not the boss of you. Like, let's refer back to kindergarten play. They're not the boss of you. You're the boss of you. This is your business and your face and your voice. This is your power. This is your career. You have the choice of whether or not you want to follow a certain person's advice. Just because 1,500 other people have does not mean it's going to work for you. And I think that's both a blessing and a curse, because we're not accountants, right? There's not a step-by-step process.
There's
There's like
no
guidelines.
formula, no like
We're
secret
more like
recipe.
pirates. Yeah, we're more like pirates. Everything's a guideline. So yeah, so this whole idea of, I want to say conformity, but not even that, but it's just being who you are while being kind to another person. So when I email casting directors, I only do 2 per week, and they're on an 8-week rotation schedule. Like, I'm not that aggressive. But it's also going to be a little more heartfelt, and it's going to be a little more researched, and it's going to be to somebody who I think I would work well with.
Yeah.
So I don't send random emails to random casting directors. That just doesn't work for me. I know a lot of people have just email whatever, whenever.
Yeah, no, I'd
That's
been good.
fine.
I
I
was
can't do that.
learning and like researching and everything, but the change in the last one was, I was like, oh, they're never going to hire me anyway. And I sent an email, I think, to the ones that like were on my schedule, like, so what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah,
How's
just
your
be
summer?
a
What's up?
human. Yeah. But when you
Yeah.
think about, this person is going to be sometimes with you in the session, or they know the people who are going to be with you in the session, they want to know who you are. They
Yeah.
want to know if you're going to gel well with whoever's in there. They can't have negative things. They can't have like a fallout from a book. Like, that's just terrible, right? So they want to know you. And you're right, I've gotten the best response from just, it was literally 3 lines of sentence, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. My summer is packed. I'm exhausted, but I still have space in my schedule. Kids are the best, worst, best. Like, it was just so like, boom, boom, boom. Here's the link. Have a great day. And
Yeah.
I got an immediate response that was like, yeah, you're so right. Kids are the best, worst, best.
Because
Let's
you're
work,
human.
hopefully we can work together in a few.
Because
Yeah. And they're
had
humans too.
I had my agent with a commercial job wanting a quick turnaround, and I couldn't believe I did this, but I was just tired. And so he
Yeah.
said, oh, I hope you're having a great summer. I went, no, the summer sucks, if I'm honest, but I'm really looking forward to like the fall.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't have the energy to go, yes, I'm having a great time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
And they
no, I
know, like,
hate it.
people know you're full of it, even if they don't acknowledge that they know that you're full of it, right? So
Mm.
people can get a vibe pretty quickly. And I'm not saying like pour your heart out into an email to these people. They don't need that. They don't want to know your business. Like,
Yes.
no, they
Or
just,
accidentally send one you think you're sending to your sister saying that you're so fat you're going to have to be taken out of the house in a forklift, because you will end up being in business diagnostic with that same person.
Did you guys chat about that?
Well, I was going to keep my mouth shut in case she hadn't seen it, but she said, turns out she hadn't seen it, because the first thing she said was, well, I think I know you. And I said, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And then I said, I sent this email to my sister. I didn't know you had the same name. It was dropped down. I wasn't using my right account. And she went,
Oh, yeah.
I thought that I saw you on speed dating in September. Yeah, that was it.
So not awkward at all. I love that.
But, you
Oh
got
my
to own
gosh.
it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the listener wants you to own it too. Like we've all done this, even if you're new, you've all heard an audiobook where the actor is phoning it in or they're just not there fully. And it might be a perfectly fine listen, but you know that that's something missing. And for me it was more about I have to make some big life transitions if I'm going to get the performance that I want. I can't just turn this off and turn it on. So
And I
that's
think with
kind
the
of,
whole AI scare, that's going to be more
oh my
crucial
God.
than ever is us, because, and also I need to stop reading about this stuff because I'm
Yeah.
starting to get that scarcity feeling, and I don't like that, because when it
Yeah.
comes down to it, it's our art. We never knew if we were going to have
Mhm.
another book 6 months down the line anyway. None of us did, no matter how big you
Yeah.
are. So nothing's changed. So
Yeah.
what I had to tell myself that today, because I'm doing a book. It centers around the homeless, and it's a fiction, and it's a book you take seriously, right?
Yeah.
I cannot be thinking about stupid AI advertising they're
Yeah.
going to do 1 million books and take over the market by the end of the year, right? While I'm sitting
Yeah.
here trying to like do honor to a really serious subject and a really beautiful book. It's
Yeah.
keeping our eye on the beautiful book and our, what you said, our craft, you
Yeah.
know, right now,
Yeah.
because that's what matters. We don't know what's going to happen in 6 months anyway, ever, AI or not.
Yeah. Well, I think COVID proved that for sure.
Oh yeah,
We just don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if we
Cool.
do good art, there's always a way to do good art. People are always going to want art, one way or the other.
I think people are unique. And I think the more we delve into that uniqueness I'm going to say within reason, because again, I think for me, it's the fruits of the spirit. It's generosity, kindness. I think those two just stick out in my head recently, so I keep saying them over again. That self-control, that not keeping record of wrong, like that sort of trumps everything. And then being your authentic self within that. So I always want to be careful about throwing terms around about authenticity, because it's not about bearing your soul or getting attention. I think a lot of people think authenticity is the way you get the most attention,
I know, which
and
is kind of
that's just not
ironic.
it either. Yeah.
Its authenticity has become a buzz, like narcissist,
Yeah.
empath.
Yeah. 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 And I
Yeah.
just, it's authenticity just bears so much weight with it now. But I think everyone is unique, truly do. And I think everyone has something different to add to whatever it is they're doing and need to be allowed to add that thing. So what's really fun, what's really kind of funny is I went to school and state college, which is great, and studied all of this high art. And it was all of these rules and regulations and sing the note on the beat or, be damned, that sort of thing. And that's fine, keeping tradition alive. Awesome. And then I dive into narration where you don't have to breathe if there's a period. You don't have to breathe if there's a comma. You don't. And I was in a coaching session with a person and they were like, I was taught to breathe a certain way on a period and another certain way during a comma. And I was like,
Really?
okay. Yeah. So we talked about that for a second. And I tried to get them to just erase all the commas and the periods and and that still kind of didn't work because of how English is structured, like subject, verb, direct object. We have a cadence and a sense of how things are going to go. So that didn't really help. And what seemed to work towards the end of the session was I asked if they were a visual person and they said yes. And I said, okay, so you have a sense of this scene and I want you to visualize where this character is. I think it was a hotel room. I was like, cool, cool. What kind of hotel room would this person book? And they were like, well, I don't know. like, well, you know the character, you know what she's going to do and say. What kind of hotel room would she book? Where are they? And and then what am I trying to say? This is the problem with impromptu for me.
No, it makes perfect
stuck
sense
in my head.
No. You brought them around to being visual to fix the cadence.
I brought them around to being visual to fix the cadence. And they read the scene again, and the cadence was completely different. And it was just a matter of getting out of the text and
the technical
doing,
yeah.
Like I might think the character would book like a super swank hotel room, and they might think the character would book a very austere hotel room. And that's going to completely change how we read the same scene.
And it's what you say about the Enneagram and your energy and your personality type. It's relevant because that's why I have a problem with a lot of the way accent. You're meant to learn accent. I can't find my way in that way because I cannot be in the booth thinking. The minute my thinking mind takes over, I'm gone. I have to go in the booth and forget and become the characters. So if I'm doing an accent, I cannot be aware that I'm doing an accent. I have to learn who the person is and the habits and the mannerisms and the pitch and the tone and be that person. And then I can fall into that accent, which is why I'm not an expert at every different accent on earth, because I've only been able to do, I do a few and I do them well, but that's my only way in. And it's what you said. And I had a friend talking about narration. And I've heard this from so many people. They have a hard time with narration. They feel it's dry. Because what they do when they're in a dialogue, they're talking to each other. But the minute they become the narrator, they lose their audience. But I'm like, who are you talking to? You're still talking to someone when you're a narrator. So even if it's not from the perspective of one of the characters, which it almost always is, there's that shading. I always think Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's talking to you in those commercials, and he's a good friend, and he's telling you it's all going to be okay. Like, he's a storyteller, but he's talking to you. I'm talking to someone, and that suddenly makes narration easy. Narration is just a dialogue with the listener.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just they're shutting up and not saying anything. But
I'm not talking back to you.
Yeah, but I love that because it's your personality, though. And that's why I've worked with coaches that have emphasized markup. I cannot, I'm telling you right now, when I was new, yes, of course I tried it. I cannot be bringing this colored piece of paper with lots of scribbles and different notes in there because I'm in my head. But if you work with Paul Rubin and he says, my favorite was PJ Auckland.
Yeah.
He didn't once tell me to take it down. He told me, be more intense. I love PJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
But your personalities, it was very, very wise. Are you a visual person? Is that why you knew?
Yes. And also it gets me out of my head. I am automatically thinking about everything. So the way I will approach a script is I force myself to turn off my brain.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I don't automatically feel things in the moment, if that makes sense. But if I'm on stage, I have to feel it, or it's almost like a fight or flight kind of, like I have to feel it and I have to give to the other person who I'm working with.
You're connecting to a part that you're not used to connecting
to.
It's
flat.
I love that. Because in real life, you don't connect to that, do you?
No. Like
when something upsetting happens, do you hold on to it, power through, and then deal with it later when you can process?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In real life.
I am the fixer in real life.
Yeah. So you're not connected to that part normally.
No. Normally, no, I have to work at it.
So that must
In
be
order to be a
challenging.
it's very challenging. So in order to be a well-rounded person, I have to work at it. And if I want to be a good mom, like I can't be in my head and be with my daughter and connect with my daughter, because kids are all feelings. They have no regulation over those feelings until they get, much older. And she's not going to feel loved or cared for if I'm constantly in my head. So I think a part of it was also, how do I love my daughter? I'm going to have to set myself aside, or I'm going to have to really work at being very present in every moment of my day, which is, circling back around, very draining. And there are some days where she's had a breakdown or meltdown, and we work through it, and I get in the booth and I'm exhausted. I can't. I've got nothing left. I'm not going to get done what the hours that I need to get done. And that's okay. And I used
I
to feel
think
really bad
this
about
is
that, or
fascinating though. And if you
yeah,
think about the Enneagrams,
yeah,
different personalities, I think, and I think the
yeah,
bravest thing is to accept and say, and it's what Candy Kisses said on her show. Um, the things that we feel shame, the things that we hide because we feel ashamed of, become the reasons for the shame. I'm totally messing up that quote. I think I've redone it 7 times by now. But but if every one of us stands up and goes, no, I'm not the kind of person that would have kids, or you, no, I'm
hmm
not the person that instinctually feels things. I have to
hmm
find my way into it. We accept that. We learn to work around it for ourselves, and we give other
yeah,
people. That's what you do, Austin,
yeah,
brilliantly.
yeah,
You give other people permission to
hmm
analyze themselves, and you do it in a very calm, cool way. I had this thought, I'm thinking this, but I saw a post you did on Instagram where you were like, this is the way I look. People don't always look such and such way. And
yeah,
you give people permission. I think all of us, you own yourself.
yeah.
You give people, I mean, even now I'm thinking, oh God, should I edit the part out about not liking kids? But in this world, people get very offended very
They
easily.
can.
But
Yeah,
we're all completely different.
yeah. Then they're not your people,
Yeah,
And it's to say, it's not about the kids at that point. It's about, why does this person feel so strongly that you personally should have children? Like, why are they so offended? That's really the question that I would ask.
yeah,
But for you, it was just a choice. And that is
yeah.
wonderful. And that's what you did. And you're doing wonderful things with your life. And I'm sorry, I think not everyone, since we're on the topic of kids and it's slightly controversial, not everyone is supposed to have kids. We need people working. Like,
Yeah,
we need people out there working. Like, we need that as a society. So it's just like, but you can choose. And
yeah,
you just as a blanket statement to anybody, you just can't make that choice out of fear. That's the only thing pertaining to the children aspect, is as long as it's not about the fear,
yeah.
then you'll be okay. Then you can continue forward. But usually 9 times out of 10, when I talk to women who are my age who are considering whether or not they want kids, it's usually they're afraid that they're going to be bad moms. And I'm like, we're all bad moms. Like, we're all just trying. The point is just, you don't stop trying. You recognize your faults, and sometimes I have to apologize to her, who's 5. Like, I misunderstood the moments. Like, oh, I'm so sorry, Tegan. Then we have a talk about forgiveness, and then we give a
Oh,
hug. I mean, it's just so sweet, and just being more authentic with her lets her be herself. And that is huge for me. And I don't think I
but
was allowed to do that a whole lot when I was growing up.
but if you look at the ballet and the opera and the way you grew up, And then if you look at your child, and it really connects something with me right now, because I'm searching. I have to have a pet. I have to have a pet. I can't live in this flat without a pet because
Oh,
it will
yeah.
freak me out. But I'm searching a little bit too much, right? I'm
Mhm.
aware that I'm in Crazyville at this point with like
Yeah.
contacting breeders, and I'm like a little bit crazy. And I said to my husband, I said that because we didn't do the kid route, and the older you get, because when I was young and we grew up with dogs, and you grab an animal, bring it home. I used to rescue animals, and you just love them. And love is messy, and the
Mhm.
whole family thing is messy, and having kids are messy, and
Yeah.
and and it's a leap of faith because you don't know how you're going to afford it, how you're going to take care of this little thing, and it's always.
Yeah.
And I did say that because the older you get kind of knocked about by life. Your
Mhm.
pets die, and things happen, and those kind of messy risks get scarier and scarier, and that's where you have to
Mhm.
watch it. Because I walked in the other room and I thought, wait a minute, okay, we're most likely, I think I'd freak out at a dog, we're most likely talking about a budgie. Okay, I've taken a month of intense research and I'm still afraid. So I think because you hear about people that retire and their lives
Mhm.
get smaller and smaller and smaller because you
Mhm.
stop jump. I don't think it's that you're getting older and that life gets smaller, but I think you let life get smaller because you're afraid. It's what you said. You're afraid. You're afraid of the knocks. Whereas you're young, you don't think about it, and life comes at you, and you take everything on. And
Mhm.
I think it's a good reminder that we can't let yourself. And after COVID, I think I'm not the only one. We've all insulated ourselves a little bit
Mhm.
and held very tightly to what we love, and not gone out and been afraid. And I personally want to expand. I'm not going to have kids, don't worry, but I want to expand,
Like, where
like
is this
maybe take
going?
the leap and get a bird. Yeah. But it's the risks, because you find
Mhm.
yourself like afraid to go to the grocery store, nervous about
Mhm.
getting a pet. You want to do things like climb mountains and bungee jump,
Mhm.
and your kid keeps you young, doesn't she?
They do. Yeah, they do. But we've also, I also realize how old I am, how old I'm getting. Like, I'm not 5 and I am not 22. And so, just setting those boundaries and recognizing what I want and what I need are not the same thing. What I want is 4 hours a day to myself to re-energize and recharge. That is not happening. Like, that's just never, in a perfect world, that's not happening. But what I can do is set boundaries with her. And if I am feeling, she is very extroverted and people oriented and has to talk all the time, which I love. And we talk a lot.
She
So
was
it's
on a Joe call.
wonderful.
She is like basically a
Was
little celebrity in the making.
she,
She
she
is. I'll
is.
never forget her. The little girl's got star quality.
She does. She does. And she's delightful. I took her flower shopping today. We just had a girls' day. I finished a project. Oops. And we're still hanging out until school starts. And so we found a new flower shop and we went in, and the lady was like, Tegan just started talking to her like a normal person. I don't, maybe not like a 5-year-old. I don't know. And so she was just telling her about her day. And she just looks up to me and she goes, Mommy, the lady walked away and she goes, Mommy, I need to tell her something. And I was like, oh, okay, well, just go say, excuse me. She's like, okay. And she's like, excuse me. The lady goes, yes. And then Tegan had to tell her all about her carnation that she had at home and what she was going to do with the flowers and like why she picked these colors and like all this stuff. And I was like, so like as a mom being around that all day, you're just like, I love you so much, but I'm going to need space. Like you've got to, what I want is a lot of space, but I'm not going to get that. But what I get in return is this lovely person to
Yeah.
to hang out with and influence. And what do I want to put out into the world? Because she's going to directly take that on. We take on whatever our parents gave to us, right? Sometimes it was great, sometimes it was not so great. And so I think about her and I think about what I can sacrifice. And then I think about my limits, because I'm not there to be a servant to her, right? We are two people in a somewhat symbiotic relationship, right? And, she's 5, she can only take care of certain things. But it's okay for me to say, hey, mommy needs some space. Like, I actually need some space. I'm going to explode all over the place. You can't talk at me. Like, I love this question. And then finding kind ways to say that to her that
Yeah.
won't break her heart, because she just wants to hang out with mom. And I've got maybe 6 months of that left. She just wants to hang out and she wants to know what I think. She thinks I'm the most beautiful person in the world. Like she wants to talk to me about stuff and have me answer all the questions. And I'm like, ugh, these are golden
Yeah.
moments.
And it's a lesson in seeing yourself through her eyes.
Yeah, it is. And it circles back around to, why am I so unkind to myself? Because she's going to see that and think that that's the way she should think about herself.
Yeah.
And so, in order to not break her heart, but also get some space, I just look at her and say, I love you and I love your words. Can we save these questions for later? Because mommy needs to take a 10. Like, I gotta go, sit by myself for a second, and then we can re-engage and play a game or something. And she's like, sure, mommy, that's fine. Yeah. All
Well,
right.
I think narrators,
Yeah.
a lot of narrators can relate to that, because
Yeah.
a lot of narrators, it's an intense job and you have to find time. And a lot of them aren't narrating at
Very.
night. They're narrating during the day or whenever they get a chance. And the
Yeah.
kids are banging, or,
Yeah.
the husband is like, it's really bad because you love people and you're telling stories. In the meantime, I have one pretty quiet husband. I'm like, he keeps trying to talk. You kind of wish everyone else in the house would just be
Just be
quiet during.
quiet. Yeah. Yeah. No.
I love that. And I love the limits thing. Are you good at setting your limits?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So 5s in general are really good at saying no. No is our favorite word.
Really?
It's
Have you always been good at that?
Oh, yes. I am notorious for, 1, Irish goodbyes.
What's an Irish
2,
goodbye?
Irish goodbye, where you leave, but you don't tell anyone goodbye, and people don't know you're gone until like 10 minutes later. And they're like, where's so and so? Where'd she go? She was here just a second ago. Oh, I guess she left. That's totally it. It's me at a party. I got a good 40 minutes at a party, and then I'm out, and I'm not
Oh,
even
we're
saying goodbye.
opposites. I'm
I
telling
can't do
people
it.
I'm leaving with long stories right around 10 o'clock, and then 3 in the morning. I'm holding the table up and all the drinks, not understanding why people are being party poopers.
That's
So,
awesome.
so you're good at limits.
Good at limits, a little too good at limits, because there's always this fear that I'm not going to get a chance to recharge. And so I know that I have overextended myself when I'm just in bed and I can't move. I can't move. Like, I can't take in any more information. No one talk to me, that sort of thing. And then you just sort of sleep. And my
Yeah.
husband knows too. He's just like, wow, she had a rough night of recording, or she had a rough couple of days. Let's just give her half a day and she'll be okay.
But I love the
It helps.
dance. I love the dance. It's all about communication, isn't it? You communicate
Yeah.
with him, you're communicating with your daughter, you
Yeah.
communicate on social media, you're
Yeah.
advocating for who you are. You're getting a
Yeah.
better and better idea of who you are every day, and you're advocating for who you are.
Yeah. Well, no one else is going to do it, right?
Yeah. And that's all we
Like,
have to do, really, if we keep it
yeah.
simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't have to sell ourselves. That's what we're doing. We're
No.
selling ourselves sometimes, and that's kind of an uncomfortable term, really.
Yeah. Like, and you see that more with lifestyle bloggers or influencers but even they are putting on a show. Like, even
Mm.
they have to have moments that are just to themselves as a family or something. So it's real, but it's not real at the same time, if that makes sense. So I think my advocation is always, if you decide to be yourself, just be aware that step 1 the majority of people that you're around right now are not going to like you anymore. They're not going to want to hang out, which is what I went through. I just slowly started to be more authentically me, and I wasn't mean or rude, or it wasn't bad in any way. It was just like, I don't want to go hang out at this place anymore. Like, I think I don't actually like doing these things, or that whole thing. And just that slow journey is tough. And it can be very lonely. But at the end of it, I get people like you, and I get people like Anne, and I get all of these wonderful people around me that I love so much. And so it's worth it. It takes a lot of bravery, but you know, you're you, and you
And
can't
you'll be
be anybody
reinventing
else.
yourself soon, won't you? Because when your daughter gets older, you'll have a
Yeah.
whole different type of life. It's a series
Yeah.
of reinventions and getting to know yourself better and better. Okay, so we don't want to lose this. I'm wasting all the really good words in the call, and I need some final words of wisdom for the people that are going to watch the YouTube video in 60 years.
Oh, and that's right. Yeah, it's going to be on the internet.
Yeah. After we're all
Yay.
gone and AI has
Yeah.
taken over.
I know, right? Like, remember that day?
People moved. They had like wrinkles, and not you, me, obviously, but
I have wrinkles. I just have really good lighting. I have this really
I
good like
love my
glow
wrinkles. I got
lighting.
it right here. My wrinkles, my favorite bit. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Love your wrinkles.
I do. I love my wrinkle.
We didn't have any questions today, did we? I don't
Oh,
think we
I
did.
forgot to check.
Did you have any
Sorry.
questions?
No, we didn't. We didn't. I think
Awesome.
we kind of kept talking so much, nobody had a chance.
Or we're just that boring.
We've blinded you guys. We've blinded you with our brilliance. Is that right? They're not saying
They're
anything.
like, no.
You're not getting off the hook, Austenne.
I don't have any words. I think Enneagram is a great investment to look into. I am rereading The Road Back to You, which has been a good place to start, but not the only place to start.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so it's by Suzanne Stabile, and I wonder if I can actually put the link in the thing. It's a really great place to actually understand what the Enneagram is and what the numbers actually are.
Oh, that was the one. Yes, I did hear
that
of
was
it.
the one that was like
Yeah.
threes.
Yeah.
I don't think she meant it that way. I've listened to that podcast, and she was interviewing a three.
There were like three of them, and all three of them were like, well, what's it like being one of the most hated numbers? It's okay, because nobody likes Geminis much either. And I think a list came out on social media about like all the serial killers, and like 3/4 of them were Gemini.
Oh my gosh.
And the rest were Virgo.
That's why you do horror. That's why you do horror books. Just get it out of your system.
Yes, I totally. Oh yeah, The Road Back to You.
The Road Back to You is really good by Suzanne Stabile. It's a great place to start. I do not recommend anybody taking a quiz online. It's really just not going to be. I know there's enneagram.com or whatever, and you can find some stuff on Google, but read the book. Read the book or listen to the book. I don't like I think the author narrates it. Not a huge fan of his voice or his cadence. I sometimes can't listen to author read stuff, but I think that's just me. So I get a little judgy, but not judgy in a bad way, but just like, hey, if you handed this to a narrator, they would have added in what you were trying to say instead of the author like trying to do that in a not very awesome way. So that's my 2 cents about that.
It's like us trying to write the book for them.
Right. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not a writer. It's not gonna be good for anybody. It's a different art form.
Saying that,
Okay,
unless
anyway.
I need another career, and I would consider it.
I think we should write a book about narration and
Yes.
what not to do. I think that's it. What should I
think
share?
that's plenty.
I don't know.
I think that's this call is exactly the call we needed in the middle of this crazy, hot, sweltering, weird summer.
Yeah.
And I think coming back to ourselves and just feeling calm. You're so calm about it. That's what I love about you. You're not, be yourself. Come on, be authentic, which
You
is
can
what
do
you
it,
get.
which is not at all. If ever, okay, look, if ever I see you in person or whatever, and I'm like, hey, you know, it's not good. You need, like, just hand me like some whiskey, turn me around, send me to my room. Like, it's gonna go downhill fast. Like, I'm just not my husband, however, the cheerleader of all cheerleaders, he's that guy, you know?
Yeah, see, I'm that guy, but
You are.
I'm married to one that would see you on the street or something and literally turn around and walk the other direction.
Yeah,
Sure, you know, a kid hiding behind
I
their
get
parents'
that.
knees, they think if they don't see you, you don't see them.
He's that guy. I get that. It's so, I don't know if
Yeah,
I would turn and walk the other way, but
he
I would
does.
be like, respect.
Horrified.
You know you. So yeah, the Road Back to You. They have a couple of other books coming out too. It's like 40 Days of Being a Certain Number. Mine is written by Morgan Harper Nichols, who is a wonderful poet, if you haven't checked her out. She has beautiful Instagram posts that are just lovely and encouraging, and she's this amazing writer, who is
Check that
also
out.
a 5. So I'm very much encouraged by women who are 5s who are intensely creative, because we're just not a common breed. So it
But
helps
I think
to
that's
be
what makes you
encouraging.
so special.
I hope so.
And you do know that after your call, people were like, when is Austenne coming back?
I did not know
I
that.
probably should have
That's
mentioned that
amazing.
to you.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. That's awesome. Also check out, I wanted to say, what is it called? The Artist Journey that we mentioned before by Julia Cameron. And I think if you go to her website, I want to say that there are groups that get together, or she'll have at least an outline of how it works.
And there are Facebook groups for the
There are Facebook
Artist's
groups.
Way. Artist's Way is
Yeah.
it's a big actor thing. I've been trying to
Yeah.
make myself do it for years.
It's so good. And if it's not the right time for you, it's not the right time for you.
It's
But I
never the
think that
right time.
you're gonna have, but you're a doer. You're a doer, so just make the time. I think for you, it's just making the time, or having Johnny Heller back on to like shame you into doing
I
it.
am having Johnny Heller back on. I actually
Good.
sent him I think at this point, Johnny and Joanna might think I'm a stalker, because I've sent them several messages going, oh my God, you've changed the trajectory of my life and my career. When are you coming?
Oh,
So I think at this
that's
point,
so
I'm
sweet.
embarrassing fangirl.
Oh,
I think, you
that's
know,
awesome.
but
I
yeah, they're
like that
definitely
though.
coming back. Thank
Good,
you,
good, good.
Austenne.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
guys.
me. Thank you for listening, whoever's still here and
They
listening, and
liked
I
it
love it.
thoroughly. They
Good.
commented saying they liked it thoroughly. And
Good.
Lisa is also a
Oh,
Gemini,
it's
so a
also a
fellow serial
5.
killer. And evidently we covered all the wonderful stuff. They loved every moment. So
Perfect.
we're good.
Perfect.
Bye,
Yay.
guys. Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys
Bye,
later.
Austenne.
Bye.
And watch for rhythm song. Come on, everybody, tap along. First you scrub a dub, then you tap and rub. You might have to yell when you hear the bell ring out loud and long. Oh, everybody scrub along and play. Tap that old time rhythm while you sway.